First, some provocation. So first, Taavi, so when you're planning now these municipal plans to put all together, are the municipalities ready for that? And is it putting them even more dependent from the consultants and companies?
It depends because, as I said in my presentation, the skills and opportunities are unevenly distributed over the municipalities. And if you lack skills or you have an opportunity, if some resource is missing, you didn't get the full, how to say, full power to digitalize all this in once. So we need all the components to digitalize to make the best results we can. But yes, there are interest in many levels in the municipalities to digitalize their plans.
Mm-hmm. But will they be more dependent from the companies or less?
It depends the degree of the digitalization. If we take the paper plans and just scan them into the PDF documents, it's very simple and everyone can do it. But if we take the geographic information system, the component of managing the geographic information is missing there in the municipalities because they are not preparing their plans themselves. They have not competence in working with this data.
Okay. So anyway, you need probably more training for municipal people so that they can follow that change. Well, next question to Uffe. Well, the comparative study is always interesting because someone is better than other. And this time it's very exciting because why Big Brother Sweden is a bit behind in these developments and operates still in PDF and is not centrally doing the thing. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, good question. I'm not sure why if you can say they're behind because we're both countries are doing the PDF. So in that way, we're still on the same level when it comes to the legal document. In Denmark, we just went on in 2008 where we got some changes in the law saying that you could do a digital plan. The point there was that the government meant a PDF document, and some of them also meant that it was a web page. So when they had to hand it in, they didn't have a PDF; they had a web page, and the government said we can't, we can't get that. You need to supply a PDF. So we built in a PDF generator so they could hand in 3,000 pages, which was not organized. It was just the information. And the municipalities were just like, well, for us, a digital plan is a digital plan, so you get the PDF just in a raw format, and that's actually did a baseline for us, saying like all municipalities, we get the question every time, do we have a nice looking PDF when we do a digital plan? And we say no. As I wrote in the comment, that is the secondary product of this. And over the years, all the municipalities just are like, well, yeah, skip it. We just have an okay PDF, but the version we're using is actually the digital plan. Even though it's not the legal document, it's the same information, but it's just in a better way to read it and present it. And I'll give some credit to Sweden then, because they're actually in front in the Nordic country when it comes to the 3D models. They've been using that a lot more than we have in Denmark. So just a shout out to them. So they are in front in some
Thank you. And the questions to Hilde. I was looking one of your figures and there was an explosion of digital plans in 2019. This is 1 year before the COVID came. I can understand that you're starting this boost in 2020, but it was a year before. What was the reason for that? Some incentive or?
Yeah, we had some extra monies in our in the ministry to work with digital plans from 2015 to 2019, and in that case, I used a lot of money in one of the thing was making more digital planning registers. So it was a big thing to do that in those years, and we didn't know about the COVID. So, but now we have one paragraph that we would very much like to get rid of, and that depends on every municipalities to have a digital planning register. So we now try to find out what to do with the rest.
Well, as someone said, money is not the most important, but it always helps.
Yeah.
Also in this case. Well, no one is willing to ask you directly, so we can start the discussion. But I encourage people to raise your hands or to write in the chat. And organizers already prepared some quite clever questions for you, so you can probably. Well, it's not obligatory to answer all of them, but first topic is where it was mine. Question about digitalization planning process, and this is also my great interest at how this impacts participation. So most vulnerable groups. So we have definitely this digital divide, so that 20 to 80 or 10 to 90, it depends on the country. But those most vulnerable groups who are so far also behind any information flows, they are even more further from this information, and are maybe sometimes surprised that something happening in the neighboring plot. So how you think this digitalization is impacting the planning? Will be it more visible, open to the public, or are there also some certain threats? So, and how to avoid those threats? Ladies first, maybe? No, okay, Uffe, good.
Yeah, I think at least for the transparency of the plans, I think actually the digital plans, if I look back in Denmark, has had a huge impact. We've been working with the municipalities, so it's their ideas that we are trying to produce when we're developing our system. But one of the things that we've seen for the last 5 years was a project we did with Aalborg municipality when they went on the digital platform. That was actually with a clear strategy to be more open about their plans, to tell more about what they were doing, what was the upcoming plans. And also when they had the public hearings, they can do that directly online and collaborate all the answers. But in the same way, as soon as the citizen hits the submit button, the answer is also shown directly in the digital plan. So the next citizens that come in can actually see all the current answers coming in, which meant that the municipality is now saving a lot of time because they don't have to send out all these mails when they get what has come in from others and stuff like that. They just post it online, and the system actually do it automatically for them, send the receipt for them and all that. So I think when you go digital, you do. There's also benefits, pros and cons, you can say, but mostly cons, I think, because when you do in a standardized way, the system can begin doing some of the jobs for you. So we're saying it takes the same amount of time to write a plan in a digital platform that it does in a paper platform. But we can produce some tools that then helps you in other ways and save you time. So you actually get more time to focus on the plans instead of all the other tasks around the plan. So that's what we have experienced in Denmark on the digitalization. So I think there's some huge potential if you do it the right way.
Okay, Tavi?
Yes, I will agree with Uffe that it brings more efficiency in the system, and focus should be in the planning, not in the technical details to send letters or something else. But if we bring more data together, we have to have tools and experience to analyze that, because if we lack of skills, we can make even forced decisions if we don't understand the data, and we can make decisions in unbalanced way, like we didn't collaborate all the interest groups in the same way, because they all need different kind of interaction. Digital is one of them, not but as we can see, we can use digitalization, but we must have other ways also. It should be a letter for a grandmother or something else more personal from them. It depends for every group what the needs are, what the skills are at the moment.
Thank you. And Hilde?
Thank you. I think the digitalization will do so that we will get more equality between the municipalities, and we also will, like you said before here, get the possibility to do analysis and get more statistics. And we as a ministry often get a lots of questions from the political side, and we have to give answers to different things in the planning process system, and that is easier if you have things in a digital way, or like before it was totally analog. So I think it's more benefits than not with doing things digital.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, because we have had also different this kind of public involvement applications, so that people can actually describe situations in the real situation in the nature or in parts of city. And this is really helpful in gathering information and also giving feedback, etc., etc. But how about this kind of if the developers are really willing to change the status of this plan and they're mobilizing their partners, and then you get a massive inflow of different requests and also that are pushing to this plan through. How to counteract in this situation when you have digital scheme, and not speaking about fake and also different kinds of deepfake cases when people are intervening, but they are not those people who they are. Have you thought about that? So the digitalization has pros and cons, and this is one thing, which is if it makes easier for planners the life, it makes easier. It's also for certain interest groups who try to push through their plans.
Maybe I can answer that.
Yeah.
As before I said that if we gather digital collaboration or input from the different kind of stakeholders, we see that the data is a little bit unbalanced, as I said. So you have to mass this data to have an overview. What are the main stakeholders, and you give a weight for every group so they are equal for each other. So you don't bring up some of the interest groups who are very active in digital way, then the other are very active in emails or something else. So you need to have skills to see the process in the overview, but the digital tools will help you to see or to analyze this data more, and the focus should be to more oversee the data and to find the ways to make better decisions from this input.
Hilde?
Yeah, I think it's important to mention the 3D dimension. We use that in some cases in Norway, and by using hide dimension, you will very fast you can get rid of the not serious builders, because you will easily see what is a good solution and what is not a good solution if you use the 3D dimension.
All right. So this is we have why I was asking this question. This was a current debate in the media in Estonia, where there's a lot of cases of impacting different kinds of political decisions. It's not only not yet in these planning procedures, but over a political scene. But we'll see. Then we have also some interventions in chat. Maybe those who wrote there would like to say it in public, not that just we read them. Marco, for instance.
Yes, what I was trying to point out is that we are talking about how to design the system, but has it been really discussed what is the level of precision we need to be? Because there have been, many people have pointed out today that we might end up in gathering too much information or making the system too complex. That might not work. So this is what I thought.
Any one of the speakers willing to respond?
Maybe I can say something.
Yeah, very good.
There has been, of course, this discussion. Also, we saw it in our interviews. We saw also different approaches. We saw, however, also that countries like Germany or maybe also some places in Austria have moved from, at the beginning, a less precise way to then going towards a more precise way, which is attached to the parcel levels and has as much information as we have seen before also for Denmark. I think in practice, in the community, at the end, many people then tend to go towards the more precise as time goes on. So the question is, do we start already with the very precise and spend a lot of time there before we go to the less precise, or is it better to start with the less precise and over time eventually also go to more precise? I think at the end, it's probably at the ideal is to be precise in any case.
Our speakers at this session, any response? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question, Marco, because if I can at least compare to Denmark and Sweden, because in Denmark we're quite open. We just have something written in our law saying like you need to address this, and then it's up to the municipality itself to how they interpret it and how they write the plan. And that is the creativity freedom, you can say, and that also give a lot of problems, because is that within the law when you write it, because it's the one single planners that are writing this, and do they completely know how the law is about this? Are they updated on the latest things on this? And if we look to Sweden, they, as far as I know, is quite strict. They have a model that consists of, what can you say? I think it's 1156 different topics they can choose whenever they draw a geometry for the plan. They have to change this housing, school, offices, and then you have the subcategories, and you can go down until you hit what you are planning for. But that model also has the opportunity to go beside that. So if you don't find anything in the catalog that is fit, you can still write your own thing about what you're planning, and you'll just get a mark in the plan that this is not a standard phrase you're using. So I think it's something in between, and of course I'm more into the Danish way of doing it, but I'm actually liking more and more the Swedish way when I'm looking into it, because I think it's okay to be standardized, but there still needs to be some kind of freedom, because you get some projects sometimes that is just not out of this, they're just out of the box. So you still need some kind of creativity, but I think as far as you can be standardized, there are a lot of benefits in that, and you will be able to get more legal plans. I know we have a lot of issues in the Danish plans that they actually don't, if you go in a courtroom, they will not hold on. We will lose, or the municipality will lose. So I think if we need to have better plans, we need to have a more standardized ways of doing them.
Mm. Thank you. Maurer, so you still have question, or you just, you had your hand raised?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I had my hand up. So thank you very much for all these very nice impressions and presentations you did. I think talking about precision, what is very interesting is that in Switzerland we have a catalog which defines all different types of geoinformation, which has to be digitized by every office which is in charge of maintaining those data. So every law defines the precision. And talking about precision, we have also a nice project. I just wanted to give this idea to talk about, is that we also want to digitize information which is not legally binding yet. So to have a better coordination and land use planning, so to digitize ideas which will be happening somewhere, somehow, in a certain time, in 50 years, in 60 years. So what we do now at the moment is we have planning information. So we start to digitize for the railways, for instance, or for the power lines. And they have planned cycles of 30, 40, 50 years. And so when we know when something will happen, even it's not legally binding at the moment, if even the project is not really clear, so it allows us to do some better coordination in time, because we need a lot of time before for better coordination. So just as an idea also to show that legally binding is one very nice attribute to know that something is real and has a certain importance. But more important for planning also is to know where somebody has a certain idea. So this is all under the title of participation and future planning.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Speakers, would you like to respond to that?
Well, I think it's a brilliant idea, and we also have that discussion in Denmark from the planning authorities, that they see a big problem that they have all the legal plans in their system, but they know there's a lot of plans the municipality also makes that they use, but you can't find them in the government system. So you don't have the full picture, which they think is a problem, and I agree on that. So, but the problem is, how do you store that? How do the municipality deliver 98 different types of plans into a standardized system? But I know the Danish government think of, or the planning authorities in Denmark would like to have that information also. So I think that's nice to hear that other countries have the same idea and needs. So please let me know if you get any good solutions on that. I think we will be happy to look at it.
Just very short, thing, we have data models defined by the Geoinformation Act. So we have models which define on a national level the minimal structures, how data have to be delivered to us. And then also you have on the cantonal level and on the municipal level all the possibilities how they can organize data. So just have a look to the data models on the Swiss government side. You will see an idea, an inspiration.
Yes. But the plans, are they still the PDF documents in the end? Or
no, the geometry. It's about the geometry and raster data.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Davi?
Yes, I'm glad to hear that we have all the same problems in different countries. We also see the problem to have some data which are not legally binding in the digital way, and to have to collect it and to not to use it again in the next planning processes. Also, we have plans to also collect basic data, what are the input data, also some ways how the plan could be evolved besides of the legal binding data, but they are not so structured as the legal binding data. As Uffe mentioned, the Swedish way, we are going at the moment a similar way. We have these classifications, but the end are very loose. You can have your own classification on top of that. So we have similar problems and very similar solutions also.
Would be logical. Hilde, please.
Yeah, in Norway we have for a long time have the standardized digital maps, and I think that nobody is protesting and everybody uses the standard. So we don't have troubles with that in Norway, but the regulations or permission, also the provisions, they can differ, and they are not easy to get standardized, I think. So there we have something that will be much more variety on. But we also had a discussion now about the municipalities map or the plan for the whole municipalities. They are in Norway made a new one in every 4th year, and the input date may change in that period. So how to get a new input date according to the legally binding plan? That is something we are discussing here now.
Thank you. Another question of big data and data mining and so on and so forth. But there was also a question from Nadia about harmonizing digital planning in EU. And this has been probably this mission impossible for not for centuries, but at least for the last half century. So so what do you comment on that? How do you bring in this kind of first different, I don't know, 10 corridors and energy network data from EU level, and second thing, how to harmonize all over EU? No, yeah, I cannot imagine that, but maybe you are more optimistic. Any one of our speakers willing to respond to that?
Well, that's a difficult question, I think. Not that I have any big thoughts on that. My focus has mainly been in Denmark, but I think that is going to be a very difficult task to do. We do things differently, so I think that will be more or less impossible. Maybe some overall structure we could do, but I think when you look into the countries, we have so different type of landscapes and the way we do planning and stuff like that. So there will always be somebody feel like this is good for us, but this is bad for us. So I don't think we will be able to get a model where at least everybody will be happy. But I just think we have some different history in how we do it in the different countries. But I think it could be interesting to see if there's any overall planning information that would be able to go across the borders. That could be a start.
Of course, Pierre is willing to say something.
Well, I don't have an answer. I don't know if anybody has an answer on this question, but the question is really important and relevant. And I think that it's important to continue with the research and to expand what we have done in DigiPlan to remaining EU country, because first of all, we need to have evidence before declaring that there is a need for a common system in Europe. We need really to have evidence to work on the field, collect data, exchange with experts, and then maybe the answer would be, look, we don't need a common system, but it should be based on evidence. And here again, ESPON is a good tool to do so. And again, I invite you to participate to the consultation of the future program, because if you bring this question in one of our thematic theme, one of our themes, then we can also, together with the stakeholders, take it into consideration, because it will reflect a real need from researchers, from experts, and so on. So I don't have an answer, but maybe I enlarge a bit the question. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, we have also almost answered the second question already in the discussion, but the third question, which is a bit linked to first one, was how to engage stakeholders with digital technologies. And this is my concern about 2080 divide and digital divide. So it's probably improving year by year, because more people, middle-aged people, also get knowledge with digital tools but anyhow, how you improve this in your country? How trainings, different kinds of public campaigns, etc. So what's your experience? Well, Uffe is always seems a bit ahead of all this.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I have an answer for that right here. I can see Tavi now has raised his hand, so maybe we can start with him. I'll just give it a thought.
Okay, my thoughts was that the main goal is not to push the digital technologies to achieve, but the technologies are the way or the tools to use in the process to achieve better living environment or something, what the main goal is. So if this planning doesn't interest the stakeholder, it doesn't matter what form it is. We have to engage by the concept of this, that it is important to the stakeholders and how it is important. It is more important than the technology, what we use.
Finally, people are communicating, and this, as we discussed already in the previous section, the knowing what groups you have in your area and who are representatives who probably are aware of those technologies. You can involve those organizations, and in that way you can also involve the wider range of stakeholders. So we have a few more minutes. We got, Ingmar is already noticing big ESPON conference, which is now again digital. So I think that as a conclusion, it seems that it's quite important that there is a governmental will and also resources to build up this digital system. So that in the Norwegian case, when you dip a small contribution to the municipalities, so quite quickly things start to happen. And the other thing is overall, of course, education in the public, so that people are used to those tools, so that they can they know how to use it. And this takes a little bit of time, so it's not this kind of overnight action, but it takes some years. And on the other hand, of course, we have to also to be aware of this kind of digital underground forces who actually may use this tool also for their good, and in that way be alert on that.